Everybody, what's up? My name's Erik Hatch with Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching, all based out of Fargo, North Dakota. And buddies, we have ourselves a pretty awesome webinar today. Some of you are watching live, some of you are watching the YouTube replay, but either way, however you got here, you're trying to figure out how buyers can win in a crazy seller's market. It's May 13th, 2021 right now, and it is as crazy as it ever has been in the history of real estate. Josh is asking if Mike and I got into a fight, as Mike has a big bruise or a big cut on his nose. That's exactly what happened, Josh. Mike and I got no tussle.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. We all would bet on me in a fight between Mike Novak and Erik Hatch, because I just put my arm out like this and Mike can't reach.
Josh, you got to come to Fargo in September to see the rematch, because it's all about the rematch.
It'll be great. Yeah. Battle Royale. Gang, I want to tell you about my company, my business, and then we're going to introduce Mike, our esteemed guest. Mr. Novak, thanks for joining us. We are going deep today on business, on figuring out how buyers can win, because it's crazy right now. We're winning bigly in Fargo, North Dakota. My team, for like 5 years, we were doing between 592 and 664 transactions. A whole lot of transactions, but we were just stuck at this like glass ceiling. And we've really decided that we're going to up our game and we're going to change the way in which it's done. And so we reshaped some models. We got really diligent on becoming better versions of ourselves, and we upped our leadership game. Now, all of a sudden, we're pacing, we did 866 transactions last year, and we're pacing for 1,300 or 1,400 this year. So it's pretty fun, pretty awesome. Of course, the COVID market is raising some markets in terms of number of sales, but we're up about 100% on where we were this time last year. So fun, so rad. And then our coaching company, we're working hard to lead and impact as many people as possible. My partner, Robbie T, and myself are in tandem. Robbie works on lead conversion and systems. I work on leadership and team development, and together, watch out. We've had a chance to work in Mike's world for a while. I want to let Mike introduce himself, talk about his business, and nobody that I know is doing what Mike is doing. It's pretty unbelievable. So Mr. Novak, tickle our ears.
Mike Novak, my wife, Rachel, and I own a team and operate that team out of Everett, Washington, so just north of Seattle by about 45 minutes. We've been in real estate since 2017. We started just the two of us. We were not really interested in building a team, but we quickly realized that we needed to have more leverage to help more people. And so we started increasing the amount of people on our team. And we went from the two of us ultimately to about 20 people. And then Erik came into our world and helped us kind of like revisit our model, and went from a model that had just a whole ton of real estate agents that weren't selling a bunch of houses to a team that has 5 agents and sells a lot more houses, and that's a lot more profitable. So we did that by doing things like the showing partner model, the listing partner model, things like that. We sold 246 houses last year, so a far cry from Erik's. But for us, it's kind of where we want to be. We've got the lifestyle and the impact that we both want to have. So that's a little bit about us. We've been working with Erik and Robbie for 3 years now. Actually, is when Robbie first started working with our team on the lead conversion side of things. And then Erik and I have been working together for about a year and a half now. So it's been fast.
I tell you, Mike is like, not only is Mike a good friend, but as a coaching client, I love working with Mike, because I'll tell him an idea, and by the time I finish with a coaching call, he's like, yeah, I already implemented that. Like, I got it done. And that's actually one of the reasons why I think you've been so successful, Mike, is because you get coaching, mentoring, guidance, and then you're a quick adopter, and you don't get lost in the why. You jump in and just say, I'm trusting my guides, and this is where I need to go. And I'm watching you do that now with your team. And it's been pretty unbelievable, because you are on the cusp right now of your next generation of your team. Let's talk about your team, because you said it was you and Rachel in 2017. And I hope that wasn't lost on people, that Mike's only been doing this dance for like 5 years. And now last year you sold 246 homes. What you made last year was unbelievable, Mike. Like, the profit that you made more money in real estate than I did last year. I sold 866 of that. I have some other companies, and that's cool. And so if we're trying to compare, I don't even want to compare, but your real estate team, with what you've done and the production that you've done, you're making more money than almost anybody else in this industry. Bar none, hands down. Your P&L and the cash in your pocket, it's unmatched, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's been really incredible. I mean, when we just like open transparency, when we started working with you, we did 190 transactions or 200 deals, something like that, and we made at the end of the day, including Rachel's production, I was out of production at the time, we made $220,000 that year, and we did about $2.3 million in GCI. That's a pretty crappy profit margin when you also inflate it artificially with commissions from Rachel's sales.
Yeah, let's
So
let's pause there. So many people inflate their P&L with their own sales. And if you want a clear, healthy P&L, you need to have commissions taken out just like you would on any other transaction. So if you have an agent on your team taking that out, if you want a clear, healthy, understanding P&L, you have to deviate that. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and so we basically had, I think it was 17 or 18 agents and about 22 total people on our team. So not a lot of admin support, but a lot of agents. And we just weren't at the profitability level that we wanted to be at. We had a lot of new agents. And this is a very, very difficult industry to break through. And I can't remember what the failure rate is of new agents, but it's like in the 80% range in the first
84%.
So a lot of people just don't make it. And we were watching this happen just time after time. And we had really good training systems. We had pretty good mentorship systems in place, but people still weren't able to make that jump. And it just kind of made me look around and say, there's got to be a better way to do this than having people just jump in as a new real estate agent and then wash out 6 months, 12 months, 3 years later. And that's when you and I got connected and you said, hey, you need to look at this partner model where people really develop this intern-like relationship with an experienced agent, and they get developed over a period of years with their skill set. They help get introduced to your culture, and they provide tremendous amount of leverage to make that agent a lot more productive. And out of all of that came that profitability that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you 7x your profit.
Yeah, I mean, what, we had this big, hairy, audacious goal that we've had for 20 years and other businesses to hit, and we far eclipsed that goal last year. It was pretty cool.
Yep. This has to be heard because this is going to lead in wonderfully. You 7x your profit with a team half the size of what it was. Yeah. And it has you in production. So let's talk your personal production numbers, Mike, because you run a model that is far different, but you are finding ways to win. And this is my transition into warm, lovely introductions. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, I hit Mike in the face. That's why his nose looks the way that it does. I won the fight. Everybody needs to know that. Mike, what is your personal production, number of transactions and that sort?
So out of the 246 last year, 82 of those were my personal production. Mm-hmm. And I had a shift for about 6 months of that because it was like something we were just kind of building into place last year.
Now, there's not many agents in the country, whether they're on a team or independent, that are doing 82 transactions in a year. How are you doing 82 in a year?
I work my ass off, first of all. Like I know that it takes a lot of work to hit that kind of transaction volume while simultaneously providing good leadership to your team and an exceptional experience to your client. So first of all, I embrace.
Let me pause. Mike, is it fair to say that when you and I started coaching together, you weren't as engaged of a father or a husband as you were called to be?
100%. Yes. Yeah. No, we've made huge strides in rebalancing that paradigm so that I'm actually a present father. I have 3 kids. I love my 3 kids, but at one point I wasn't seeing them hardly ever just because of how much I was working. But that partnership model, again, really solved that problem for me where I'm able to take off every other weekend now, which is really great. Sometimes I have long days. Like last night I got home at 8 o'clock and I left my home at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I'm okay grinding that hard to make that kind of money and have that kind of impact to be able to have the freedom I want, so.
But you're traveling more now than you ever have. You're engaged with your kids more now than you ever have. Your relationship with Rachel is stronger than it has been. Because I want people to understand that 80 plus transactions in a year shouldn't come at the cost of your family and shouldn't come at the cost of your health. Mike, you've transitioned and revolutionized your health too. Like you're at the gym for 90 to 120 minutes a day, 6 days a week, right?
Yep. 100%.
Your body fat percentage is lower and you are stronger now than you ever have been, right?
Yep, 100%.
And your business is stronger than it ever has been. It's by no happenstance that somebody who has the discipline that you have and the focus that you have can still have your cake and eat it too. So
I didn't realize that though when you and I started working together. Like I thought I had to be 100% all in on business. And only when I stepped back and slowed down a little bit did I realize that it takes having the friendships that really matter as well. It takes having the family impact. It takes having the fitness, the faith, all these other components that we always talk about to actually move the needle in your business. Like if you just focus on the business, it is not going to be sustainable. And that's something that I learned the hard way. It took me 20 years to learn that lesson.
But man, you're crushing life right now, Mike. Uh, So 82 transactions. I asked the question, how do you actually do it? And so your first answer is you work really hard. But give us some of the nitty gritty of how it actually comes to be. What does your daily schedule look like?
So in the morning, I mean, I am my own ISA. I don't have an ISA like Hatch has. I mean, I would love to have that. It's just not something that we've successfully built. But it's a great model. It's something I'd love to have in the future. But right now, I am my own ISA. So I get in, I do follow-ups in the morning. I touch, my inboxes. We use Hatch messaging and Sierra. So a lot of it is just text communication back and forth. I spend an hour or two every single morning, just kind of getting that caught up, moving people around my CRM and following up with people. And then I move on to my meetings, like from about 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock or so is very team focused, whether if it's one-on-ones with my partners, the agents on my team, our lender relationships, any team meetings, things like that. And then in the afternoons, I'm typically in buyer consultations. I don't really show houses often. I mean, I maybe show one house a week on average. Like I showed one yesterday. It was the first house I've showed in a couple of weeks. So I really try to keep in the office as much as possible. Or working from home. So I'm focused on what I'm doing. I'm not out just running around showing houses, which is the most time consuming part for selling a house as a buyer agent.
So I want to break down and give people some actionable takeaways here because this is super important stuff. Number one, you leverage your time. Yes?
Yep.
Because Mike, you are a ninja when it comes to negotiating and finding your ways. And we're going to give people those takeaways of what you're doing to be that ninja. But what are you doing to leverage your time? What leverage do you have in your world? Because we know what you're really great at. You're really great as an ISA. You're really great at negotiations. And those are the two hats that you wear as a producer. So what have you leveraged out of your life?
A lot. I mean, like we've got nanny support at home for our children to help our kids get ready in the morning if we're not there. We've got a whole bunch of personal leverage with like everything done at our house. I don't touch, like I don't go cut my lawn. I don't go do any maintenance at my house. I hire it all out because I suck at doing those things and I can make more money being in real estate. So we develop leverage in the personal side and then we develop leverage in the business side. And on the business side, the leverage comes from our showing partners. It comes from our transaction coordinator who is super well trained and a badass. It comes from having a full-time PCSOI person on our staff that just handles
what's PCSOI, Mike?
Oh, sorry, past clients and sphere of influence. So just loving on our past clients in our sphere, running client events, sending flowers when somebody has, something go on in their family. Like they're just hyper aware of what's going on with our past clients. We've got, 800 past clients at this point, and it is a full-time job, in my opinion, to manage that for somebody. Like we know that that's going to be our best return on investment. So for our team last year, we made that a full dedicated position, and it's paid off really well for us. So there's that, and then like honestly, not to plug Robbie T too much, but Hatch messaging is the biggest piece of leverage that I have on prospecting because
walk us through what Hatch messaging is too.
Sure. So a lot of us use Sierra Interactive as our CRM, which is, in my opinion, the most robust CRM on the planet. It's just incredible. They've got so many features packed in there. And Robbie, who is, arguably one of the best ISAs when he was in production, has taken all of his messaging and put it into Sierra. So it's like a full database management process combined with all of these messages that go out. So this has really presented a tremendous amount of leverage and opportunities for our team and for myself in particular, because instead of having to call people for 3 or 4 hours a day, I can just do conversational management throughout my day and a little bit of concentrated time in the morning as well, and still set 4, 5, 6 quality appointments a week for myself, which is all I need to go sell 120 houses a year, Mm-hmm. So the Hatch messaging has been the biggest piece of leverage besides the partnership model.
My friend Jordan just asked in the chat box, is this the How Buyers Can Win webinar? 100% it is. And the reason why Mike and I are being so diligent on this to understand the foundation is because if we just tell you, here's 10 tricks that you can do, if you don't have the right business structure behind it, it doesn't matter. If you don't have the right disciplines and leverage, I don't care if you have the best scripts in the book. If you're still a douchebag, it's never going to work. We want to help you to be a better person, have a better business model so that you can have what it is you're looking for. So with that being said, Mike, you're running at such a high level. Your goal is to hit 120 transactions this year yourself, right?
Right.
Tell us about the Everett and Seattle market, because it's a humdinger.
It's brutal. I mean, we have homes are on the market for a median of 6 days, which is really just the offer review date period in our market. Homes go on the market and they don't just accept an offer right away. They wait for a set period of days to look at offers, which we call the offer review date. So homes are selling on their offer review date pretty much 100% of the time. Home price or home sales are escalating, between 7 and 20% above list price. There's a lot of cash being thrown around in our market right now from outside investors and from other countries that are buying in our area as well. So it is a very, very challenging market right now. I mean, you and I were on a mastermind call this morning, and we probably had 20 markets represented on that call. And I heard the same thing from pretty much everybody on that call, with the exception of Grand Forks or whatever it was.
Grand Forks, North Dakota.
That this is an issue across the whole nation right now. Like, this inventory problem is really, it's a challenge, and I heard that this morning on our mastermind call from every market that was talking. So I don't think it's unique to our market. Our market is just, maybe a little bit more intense than a few others. But I know Denver's just as bad too, or worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you said earlier today your absorption rate is 0.2, right?
Yes.
That there's an average of 6 days that it takes for a listing to actually sell, and almost every time massive multiples. But Mike, your business is strong right now. You're running a model that has 2 showing partners, soon to be a 3rd, and you've leveraged your time and you've set it up. So let's talk about first the consult with the buyer. Yeah. How do you take somebody who's a Zillow lead, or I want to meet you at the property lead? You're not meeting with them in the office. They're just a go show on a house. How are you taking that person and actually getting them to commit to working with you?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, there are a lot of portal leads, like whether it's realtor.com or Zillow, that they just want to go see the property, and whatever agent gets in front of that person first is likely going to be working with that person. So we get a lot of those. I mean, we always bring up the buyer consultation because we believe that people are going to be better served if they slow down a little bit up front to ultimately be able to achieve their goal of buying a house and really understand what they're doing and have identified what they're looking for, and they understand the market and the dynamics of what it's going to take to buy a house. But if they just insist they want to go see this home, I don't actually go to it myself. I send one of my showing partners to it. And then my showing partners, they practice and script, 3 or 4 times a week on getting that person back to our office for a buyer consultation. Because a lot of the time that house isn't going to be the right house that they're actually going to buy. It's just the excuse to go meet the person,
Yep. What's the likelihood that that somebody will actually come to your office for a consult, and what are your showing partners saying to get them to do it?
So I talked to Lexi, who's my top showing partner right now. She's been with me the longest, and she's got a 90% showing appointment ratio to buyer consultation set. And the 10% that she doesn't set, she is filtering out because they're people we don't want to work with. Like, they're either underqualified or they're not the right person, to work with us. And so she just filters those people out. So they're very effective at it, but they practice it. Like, they're not practicing on the clients. They drill this 2, 3, 4 times a week, like for 20 or 30 minutes a day when they do it, so that it's their dunk shot. It's Michael Jordan at the free throw line. Like, they've practiced this so that when they get to the client, it's very seamless.
So what do they say? Mike, let's role play this for a minute. I'm the buyer. That's the portal lead. I just want to see the house, and that's it.
Sure. So we're at the house, right? And you've seen the house?
Mm-hmm.
So Eric, on a scale of 1 to 10, how close is this home to what you're actually looking for?
It's like a 6 or a 7.
Okay. What would make it a 10, Eric?
Boy, if it had that extra bedroom, that'd be a big deal. And like, this neighborhood's good. I'm not sure it's the one I want to end up at.
Okay. Which neighborhood would you really like to be in? Like, which wouldn't be like a 10 out of 10 for the neighborhood in the area?
Yeah. If I could be in the Hatch district, that's exactly where I'd want to be.
I love the Hatch district. That's actually one of my favorite neighborhoods. So I totally understand that. So the best thing to do, Eric, knowing that this house isn't the right fit for you, it would be best to sit down with Mike, one of our top agents, so he can walk you through the home buying process from start to finish, get you up to speed on what's happening in our market right now, and then really do a deep dive on what you need in the home. And from there, him and I will get out and find that house for you. The reality of the market, Eric, is that homes move very quick, and homes that are priced right, that are in good condition, they sell within hours in this market. So you really have to slow down a little bit market and have a game plan put together so when that right home does come on, you don't miss out on that opportunity. How's today at 4 to meet with Mike?
Boy, he sounds handsome. I love it. Yeah. No, Mike, that's smooth and solid. And folks, if you're watching this, the recording, just go back and listen 5 times more and write it all down. If you're watching live, we're sending you the recording afterwards. So all is good there. Mike, that's really solid stuff. I want to know what happens if the showing is set for tomorrow at 4 p.m. and the house sells or pens before that showing actually happens.
Yeah,
What do you do then?
Happens all the time. We don't text them. That's the single most important thing, that news. We pick up the phone, we call them. Hey, Eric, bad news. The home that we're going to go look at is already pending, but good news, I found 3 others that are just like it, and I'm going to send them over to you right now, and we could still go at the same time to go take a look at them.
Why don't you text them?
Because they're going to ignore you. They're going to ghost you.
Okay.
You don't have enough of a relationship built yet where they're going to respond to it, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like you got to get them voice to voice so that you can really build some conviction into meeting them in person.
Is that you making the call or your showing partner?
It's the person that's going to meet them usually. It's typically the partner.
Okay. Now we have the consultation that happens in the office. Mike, how do you get that person to commit to working with you?
I mean, it's pretty easy, to be honest with you. Like when I sit down and do the buyer consultation, I focus the first 15 or 20 minutes on getting to know the person. A lot of the times, these are appointments that I've set myself. So I've got some kind of relationship or rapport already established. I already have some kind of idea of what they're looking for and what's important to them in the house. And I also have an understanding what the current living situation is. So I really just kind of revisit each one of those things and I do a deeper dive into all of it. And then I go through our buyer's guide with them. There's about 7 pages in our buyer's guide that I think are really important that somebody understands. And I go through each one of those with them, including the process of buying a home from start to finish, what to expect with closing costs, how to choose an agent, our team's track record. I go over offer review dates. I go over how to make an offer stand out in this market, all of those things. And it's usually about 40 minutes or so. And then at the end of that, I just ask them if they'd like to work together. And if they say yes, I sign them.
Now, I want to make sure that y'all that are listening didn't miss that. The very first thing that you do is not sell them on why you're great. You instead learn why, or you don't sell them on why you're great. You listen and learn about why they're great. You build the relationship. And that is the foundation of all this, is that if you want to win in this market, just to get somebody under contract to work with you, you have to win the relationship first.
Definitely, you connect.
Now, you use that time not only to get them under contract, but you're also setting the stage and you're saying, dude, it's hella hard out there. How are you counseling these people so that they can win as a buyer? What are you telling them and what are you getting them to commit to? Because if you're like, all right, you got to pay $50,000 over asking price and waive all contingencies if you want to win today. My guess is if that's what your pitch is, they're not taking what you're selling.
Yeah, so we don't do a deep dive into things like low appraisal coverage. We mention it, but we're not going to say, hey, you're going to have to make up $100,000 of low appraisal coverage to win this house. That to me is really house to house specific guidance and advice that I'll give somebody once we find a home that they like. I will give them an overview what a low appraisal is and how it's affecting our market and them as a buyer, but I'm not going to scare them and say you're going to have to go put in $100,000 over what it actually appraises for. So the first thing that I do is when I go over the roadmap of buying the home, I break it down into a 4-phase approach. The first phase is what I call the preparation phase.
Slow it down.
Right.
Phase 1.
Phase 1 is preparation phase. The phase 2 is the home search phase. The third phase is the offering phase. And that's where I hit the pause button. And I say,
hang on, preparation,
home search,
offer. Okay.
And phase 4 is contract to close. But at phase 3, I really pump the brakes and I say, you know, Eric, in this market, it is very common to offer 4, 5, 6, even 7 times, even if you use all of the offer writing strategies I'm going to share with you today. That's that competitive out there. I've seen as many as 30 offers on a home in the last month. And Eric, when there's 30 offers on a house, 29 people don't get it. I become a good storyteller. You know what I mean? Like literally share what you're seeing and set that mindset and that expectation that this is going to be a little bit of a grind. Because it is. It's going to take 2 or 3 months, and it used to take, a week. So they need to make sure that you need to make sure they know that up front. That's how I set the expectation.
Yeah. Really good. Those of you watching live, if you have questions, throw them into the chat box. We want to make sure that Mike and I are addressing and handling whatever it is that you have as an inquiry, and we'll try to get to everything. All right, you've set the stage for somebody, Mike. You've told them it's going to be tough out there. Here's what the process looks like. You got them under contract. Now you show the house. They love the house. It's a $500,000 house listed at $499,900. What consultation are you giving them? What advice are you giving them? Your showing partner is doing the showing. So what does that handoff look like?
So as soon as we sign somebody, there's a group text that goes out from the agent to the partner and then the client and the client's spouse if they're married. That way everyone's in a communication loop and they all know what's going on at all times.
Are you always in that communication loop, Mike?
I am, yep. Like I have 35 A clients right now, so my phone's buzzing nonstop from my showing partner, sending them listings and just engaging with our A clients. I'm
Okay,
constantly monitoring what's happening.
Let's pause. Identify an A client.
An A client to us is somebody that's pre-approved, that is equally as motivated as we are to get them into the house. Like we're not dragging them along, and they actually can buy a home in our current market.
Okay. What's a B client then?
B client is usually missing one of those variables, and typically it's the motivation. Like they're not super motivated. We feel like we're dragging this person to go look at houses. We don't feel like they're writing competitive enough offers. And to be successful in our market right now, we have to continually top grade our pipeline. So we are downgrading people and we're moving people up based off of their motivation, their capabilities to actually buy a house in this market. If you try to focus on everybody, you can't really help anyone. I probably have 100 ABC clients, but I have 35 A's. And I'm constantly looking at those with my partners, evaluating, are these people still A's? Are they B's now? Do we have B's that need to become A's? And a lot of it is just based off of their motivation, their capability.
So from the original get-go, and when you get them under contract, now everybody's tied in. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you and your showing partner.
Yep.
It's all tied in together. They, the Johnsons decide we want to see 123 Main Street. They message you. Lexi, your showing partner, sets up the showing, communicates. You're just watching all this happen, right, Mike? You're not actually interacting. You're just watching it happen.
Correct. On my sphere, I'll chime in a little bit more, but that on a normal like online lead, I just sit back.
Mike, you've been on this about 30 minutes now. How many text messages do you think you've missed?
I don't know. I had 704 unread texts when Mike Boyle saw my phone the other day. So I'm a skim reader.
Yep. They love the house. The Johnsons love the house. What is Lexi saying to you? What is Lexi saying to the Johnsons?
So Lexi is going to Marco Polo me immediately when somebody likes a house. Like she's not.
What's Marco Polo?
Marco Polo is an app that a lot of us are obsessed with because it's video messaging. Like instead of FaceTime where it has to be live, you can just record it and send it to somebody, they watch it and goes back and forth. Well, with 3 showing partners, we're very infrequently in the same place at the same time. We're always crossing paths, we're always running around. So Marco Polo, we have a group with the partners and myself in there, and we're always just engaging each other in there. And when somebody likes a home, we don't wait for a note to go in the CRM. To us, that stuff happens later on in the day. Yes, there will be a note put in, of course, to document they like the house and all the details, but we're immediately jumping on it and letting me know that these people like this house. Because in our market with offer review dates, the seller has no legal obligation or requirement to wait to actually take an offer on that date. They can take an offer at any time. So now we're running the risk that that seller could take an offer at any moment. So I'm going to immediately call the listing agent and see if they would accept an offer early if it was a very compelling offer.
So the Marco Polo is sent. What coaching and guidance have the Johnsons made? Because you know it's priced right at $499,900. It's going to get 10 or 15 offers, and that time is of the essence and that they got to go in strong. How are you coaching them?
It depends on the client's mindset. Like some clients are very comfortable taking risks. They're very comfortable going in high and breaking review dates. And other people want to sit back and they want to wait for the review date and be a little bit more conservative. So it depends on the client. But if the person's really aggressive, then I will tell them, hey, we should offer, if that one was $499 and I think it's going to go to $575 on the review date, I'll tell them, hey, we should offer $585, $590 right now. And we should have it expire at 9:00 tonight. We should probably do non-refundable earnest money. If you have the ability to waive the appraisal, we should do that. If you don't, then we should define exactly how much we can cover. We should look at our inspection options, and the inspection options we've talked about in the buyer consultations, so they're kind of prepared for that as well.
If that offer expires at 9 p.m., are your clients still rewriting again or removing that contingency, or is it really they're walking away?
It's funny you asked that because like a week and a half ago, I had a client who They wanted to break in a review date. The house was listed at 545. They offered 575. They expired at 9 o'clock. The seller did not get back to us to the next day. And then they kind of tried to play games and they countered our price. And we said, we're not interested. And then my client wanted to offer on the review date. Well, on the review date, the price did not escalate above the 575. It was actually lower. It was like 560. And so she said, would you rewrite the original offer? And we said, no, absolutely not. We walked away and found a different house.
You're a stubborn son of a gun. Why are you pushing that? Because it's commonplace, right? Review date is they're going to look at it for 5 days. The listing goes live today on the 13th of May. They're putting in the private notes. We'll review all offers and present on the 18th, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Why are you pressing that review date, and what pressure does that put on the sellers for them to make a decision?
Well, I don't like competition. I like to be the only game in town. So if I can put out a really compelling offer and I can say, hey, here is a phenomenal offer. This is better than you probably ever imagined you would get on this house. And you run the risk of this offer not being there on the review date because we're going to keep looking at houses. Now you have a decision to make. It's the 2 in the hand, 1 in the bush kind of thing, or 2 in the bush, 1 in the hand.
Yeah, there's a bush and a hand involved somewhere.
Yeah, there's something. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like it just makes them have to make a decision. Either take this really great offer or wait and hope something better comes along, and maybe it will, maybe it won't.
Yeah, boy, I flip a number of houses, and I listed a place. Now, I'm not in the Everett or Seattle market, and so our average sales price here is half of what you deal with. But I listed a house that I had flipped. I listed for $230,000. And I put a review date out there. It was 6 days out. I wanted to do an open house over the weekend and get everything else. First showing, first offer, they wrote in my market for 10 grand over, which is, at that point it was 4.5% over the asking price. And they wrote what's called a sunset clause. And the sunset clause works like this: is they said, if we don't get a response by 9 o'clock tonight, the offer drops down to $230,000. And so here's the position I'm in as the seller. I got a guaranteed 10 grand over asking price. When I bought the house 6 months ago, I never expected it to be even at asking price, right? That's how much the market has changed this quickly. Do I take the guaranteed 10 grand, or do I roll the dice and hope that something else comes around? I think I'm a savvy investor, and I still said I want to take the guaranteed offer rather than roll the dice and hope and pray, because I was already above what I thought I would be. The only way a sunset clause works is if it is higher than that listing price. Like you can't do a list price of $499.9 and go in and be like, I'll offer you $489.9, but it expires tonight at midnight. Like that just doesn't work. You got to be well above where you think it's going to be. Do I think I could have got an extra 15 grand on that house? I don't care. I got 10 grand, man. 10 grand's a lot of money. Do you know how many McChickens that buys? Hot damn. So, Mike, you're putting review date pressure on people. Yes.
Yep, for sure. And we can't do this every time. Like sometimes when I call the listing, they say, absolutely under no circumstances will we take an offer early. And if you tell me that, I will respect that. But if you even give me some glimmer of hope or some possibility that you might consider it, I'm submitting that offer and I'm going to expire it the same day.
Okay. You just said something that was, I think, a subtle, awesome thing. You said, when I call the listing agent. What does your communication look like with the listing agent in these situations?
I always call them. Like a lot of the agents I know pretty well, and it's just good to connect with them, first of all. And then second of all, again, when you get voice to voice, you can connect at a deeper level. You can ask some better questions. I feel like a lot of agents are nervous about putting things in writing over text as well. I don't know why, but they don't want to say like, hey, if you send it over 75,000 over, we'd probably sign it. But on voice, I'll get that information,
So you've spent years cultivating these relationships. Like that matters. That is such a subtle nuance in this, Mike, of the fact that you are bros and you are friends with a lot of these people, that you're in cooperation with them, that you haven't treated them poorly, that you've communicated well in previous transactions. Yes.
Yeah, I think your reputation is really critical to getting offers accepted in this market. You have to be, this sounds really basic, but you have to be a nice person. Like you can't be a dick to work with.
Mm-hmm. So I'd imagine, even though you are the highest of D's of personalities of like anybody I know, you are just a velociraptor in a room, but when you're working with that listing agent, are you soft and buttery?
I know how to play nice. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a sale to be done with the listing agent, just like there's with the client, you know?
Hmm. That's a really good point that you just made. Um, all right, Mike, you've made the offer and you can't get the offer ahead of time. You can't play the review date game. The agent says absolutely under no circumstance you have to submit with everybody else.
Yep.
What are you doing to win with your clients then?
So if that's the case, I will get the offer completely pre-written and signed by my client, usually a couple of days ahead of the review date. And then I'm going to sit on that offer until about 2 hours before the cutoff time. I'm not going to give them that offer to sit on for a few days. And that listing agent could possibly relay where our offer is at to somebody else and use it to drive an offer up higher to beat our offer. So the first thing,
Are you giving a verbal ahead of time? Like my clients are writing on this 499.9, they're going to come in at 575. Are you
nope.
giving a verbal? No, you're not. You're not showing your hand.
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
I give them just enough time to be able to vet the offer, talk to the lender, and make a decision. I don't give them enough time to use my offer to get another offer up higher. So, and we all know what
Um,
happens.
yeah, that's a nice little nuance there. Again, your lender is actually watching right now, Mike Boyle. What does Mike do to help your clients win?
A lot. First of all, he pre-underwrites our clients instead of pre-approves them, so that when they're fully pre-underwritten, they're a lot more serious, like as far as the way they're perceived by the seller and the listing agent. And
What's the difference between because I think that's a new term for a lot of people. What does it mean to pre-underwrite?
yeah, there's a lot of lenders, like the lender that we used before using Mike and his team, they would refuse to ever send anything to underwriting until the property was under contract. Like they would just have the loan officer review everything. They'd issue a pre-approval. You go offer on the house. When you get the house under contract, they'd submit to underwriting. Mike's company has kind of flipped that on its head a little bit. I know there's some other people doing this now too, where when they get the loan file, they submit to the underwriter right away. It costs the lender more money to do that because the underwriter has to touch it more times, but it makes sure that the buyer is really solid. Like if there's an issue that's coming up, you're going to know about it ahead of time. So it's going to be a much stronger buyer. They're going to be positioned a lot better when they're submitting pre-underwritten versus just pre-approved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything else that Mike Boyle, your lender, is doing that helps your clients win?
Two other things. One is their reputation, just like mine, matters a lot. Like they're very well known in our market for executing and coming through on close dates.
So
And then
you think working with somebody that doesn't have a reputable reputation, somebody who is maybe a Rocket Mortgage, Quicken Loans, or a company that they've never heard of is detrimental?
oh, it's suicide. Like I tell my clients that all the time. Like, I don't pressure them to use Premier because I can't do that. I just say, what matters is that you work with a local lender that's going to communicate and that has a really good reputation. If you're using an online lender in our market, you are not going to get your offer accepted. Like if it can't be Quicken, it can't be Rocket Mortgage, it can't be Navy Federal, can't be like there's this whole blacklist of banks in our market, and it can't be one of those. And a lot of them are online lenders.
Yeah. You said there was one other thing that Mike Boyle is doing to help you out. I think I cut you off.
I have him call the listing agent when we submit the offer and just talk
Mm.
through the offer with them. I ask him to try to get as much details out of the listing agent on other offers because sometimes that listing agent will share it with the lender, but not with me.
Ooh, I hope some people are jotting that down because your bromance that you have with Mike Boyle and the ability for you guys to work as a team and in tandem here is really great. And I'll be surprised if anybody else is going to that extreme of what you're doing. That's a really big win. Are there any programs or opportunities that your lender is providing that, or that that are out there that helps an FHA, a VA buyer, somebody who doesn't have a lot of cash? Are there shorter loan approval days? Like what are some of the intricacies that is happening on the lending side?
So, I mean, Mike Boyle would probably be better to comment about that. But on their side of things, because they're pre-underwriting, they can close a lot quicker, which again is an offer variable. Like if the home is vacant and the seller is paying the mortgage taxes, utilities, they just want their freaking cash and to move on, right? So the close date really becomes a variable into how strong your offer is. So if we can close in 17 days because they pre-underwrote them, and every other buyer's at 30 days because they're with Bank of America and Chase or whatever, that's going to push your offer ahead as well. So I would say that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Mike, if you wait until that review date, but the agent goes and still accepts an offer ahead of time, like how do you punish that listing agent? Because I know that happens,
that's
right?
just life, man. Like that's
Yep.
going to happen. It happens to me like probably twice a month. It's frustrating.
Yep.
But if you've communicated with your client ahead of time, then they're going to roll with the punches on it. Yes, it's going to suck. It sucks for the client, sucks for you as the agent, but move on and go find another house. Like it's just going to happen. Like they told you they weren't going to review early, and they did.
Yep. Yep. That's on them. That's not on you, right?
Just shake it off and move on.
Again, that's probably not a text message you should give to your client, right? It should be a voice-to-voice conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike, I imagine you have some people that are pretty deflated, your clients that have lost 6, 7, 8 times, and they feel like they are just at a loss. What are you doing to change the stars for them, or at least change their attitude?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing is communication. Like we're making sure that we're staying in touch with them. So twice a week, we're talking to every one of our A clients at a minimum. And oftentimes we're talking to them every single day as new listings come on, so that they're top of mind with us and that they know what we're doing to help them find a home. We're not just sitting back waiting for them to send us a property.
You're not sitting back waiting for them to send you a property.
Right.
That is, you're proactive, not reactive, right?
Right. And the way that people work, like if you don't tell them what you're doing to help them win, they assume that you're not doing anything, that you're not working for them. So we have to make sure that they know what we're doing. They can see it and they can see the evidence of it. That is the biggest thing that will keep them motivated. And yes, they may lose out 5 or 6 times, but if they keep going, eventually they're going to get a house. Like I think we've had one client this year who said, I'm going to go rent a house for 6 months. And I'll come back to it. Like they lost, and they just didn't have the aggressiveness it took to get a house in this market. And I actually thought it was the right decision for them. I agreed with them. I said, let's pick this up in 6 months. Go save some more money and come back, and we'll try again. But that was the only person we've had that like literally bowed out.
One of my favorite strategies, and I learned about it in our mastermind, Mike. We have a mastermind. It's cleverly called Hatch Mastermind. So go figure. Somebody taught me the day old bread strategy. Let's say you have somebody that can't put a ton of cash down, or they're FHA or VA, and they can't win in these multiple offer situations. What you do is you send them the day old bread. You find the listings that are a week or 2 or 3 old, and you send that to them saying, hey, this hasn't sold yet. And so my guess is the buyer is going to be much more open to considering your offer because you don't have all the wins that are associated with it. And that's been a really good strategy for our team, is finding those people that can't play the game that everybody else is playing. And so they just shop in a different market.
Yeah.
Mike, what are you putting in offers to win? You can't get the review date early. What are you coaching your clients to do? Is it situational, or is it always you got to waive inspection, you have to waive appraisal, you have to cover the appraisal gap, you have to put non-refundable earnest money down? Like what are those little pieces that are helping you develop a savvy?
In our buyer's guide, this is something I go over with them in the buyer consultation the first time I meet them. I have a whole page just called offer variables. And I just go over it with them and I say, Eric, I want to make sure with how competitive this market is, exactly what will make your offer stand out as being very strong or make it be perceived as weak in the eyes of the seller. And then I go down this whole list of items with them. And a lot of it is things that I'm sure every agent is talking about, like earnest money. You got to go to 3% earnest money if you can. It's one way to make your offer strong. It costs you nothing extra. If you're doing a 10% down conventional mortgage, we need to talk about changing you to 5% down or 3% down and repurposing that cash into covering a low appraisal. Mm-hmm. We need to have an inspection strategy. Like if 90% of buyers are waiving an inspection and there's 10 offers on the house and you put an inspection contingency in that, you're not going to win that house. So we could either waive it, we could do a pre-inspection, we could get a seller procured inspection if there's one available, or you could just waive the inspection and get a home warranty. Like there's a whole bunch of different options we can look at there. So I go through all those items with them. There's about 15 of them.
Mike, you've referenced that buyer list a couple of times of the things you're going through. Is that something you'd be willing to share with our viewers here?
Yes.
Okay, and you can say no too, because I understand it's proprietary stuff, but you're giving us an incredible amount of information here. I'm just watching people come in with their thoughts, and dude, you are slaying and killing. So if you're willing to do that, we will email that out to people that are watching live. And if you're watching the YouTube replay, go ahead and put your email in a direct message to us and we'll get it to you. So Mike is doing that right now. Thanks for that, buddy.
I just took a screenshot of it.
Oh, what a fella. Joe, I don't want your damn email. You already gave me your damn email. I got it. Patrick, same to you. We got you. Royland, same to you. We have your email because you're watching live. So we're going to send it out to you when we're done. Mike, there's a few other things that I want to cover, but I've been asking a ton of questions. What do you think people need to hear right now on how they can help to win?
Well, the one thing we haven't talked about, and this is really important, is the mindset of the agent. Like we've talked about the client a lot, but the reality is this is a very tough market to be an agent in, like if you're a buyer agent. So I think it's really important if you have a team that you are definitely taking care of your people, you're checking in with them, you're having those one-on-one kind of counseling sessions with them and making sure they're doing okay. Cause this is a very tough market. Like I didn't envision this being the market that would wash agents out. I thought it would be a market where we have this huge amount of inventory and listings don't sell. And instead what we've got is no inventory and buyer agents can't get an offer accepted. So they can't get a paycheck. That's what's going on right now. In our market, we're seeing agents actually go away because of it. They can't get paid. And I think that you have to be talking to your team about that and making sure that they're doing okay and that they understand a bunch of these different strategies. You're talking about them in your team meetings. You're talking about how they're winning offers. When you do get an offer accepted, share it with your team on exactly what it took to get that accepted. If you've got a listing, share with your whole team what the landscape of offers was. This was the offers we got. This is who won it. This is how much they want it by. They waived the inspection. They waived the appraisal, everything else. Like I think that communication, that love on your team is the most important thing right now.
Great point. Mike, what are you doing to train your team and to develop your team? What do those weekly habits and rituals look like? Because it's not that your group is just like, okay, we have some great leads and some great appointments, we're going to go slay it. Like there is so much more that's happening behind the scenes before they're ever client facing.
Yeah, so I mean, the way that our week is kind of organized, we do a huddle at 8:45. So it's a whole team, for 15 or 20 minutes, just kind of recapping the previous day and then sharing what they're doing that day. That is more of a culture thing than it is a productivity thing. It's definitely not training, but it is really important for our team dynamic to connect like that every single day. We do a team meeting once a month. We don't do it once a week like a lot of people do, just because we don't believe in death by meeting. We want to make sure that when we have meetings, they're productive. And then we do one-on-ones, like every single person on our team gets a one-on-one with either myself or with Rachel. And that time is half an hour every week. And we're connecting on how their business is doing, how they're doing personally. We look at their numbers. We discuss openly where they're struggling and how we can help them with that. And just really spending time with them there. On the showing partner side of things, it's a lot more structured because these are newer agents that need a lot more training. And there's weekly training for those people. And there's also structured role plays multiple times per week for those people as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Structured role play, multiple trainings. The thing you said that I think is so brilliant is that you're doing these one-on-ones weekly with each of your people. Either you or Rachel is leading them, because there is a substantial difference between teaching and coaching. And I think that's why you're winning right now, Mike, is that you're not just teaching your agents. Teaching is what we're doing right now. For the 140 people that signed up to watch this and the thousands of people that are watching the replay, it's teaching. We're giving we're giving theories that work for you. But what you're doing in your one-on-ones is you're giving theories that work for your agents. You're coaching them through these situations and you're creating a customized experience for them. I think that so many real estate teams only rely on teaching and they don't do enough coaching. Coaching is one-on-one, it's nuanced. If I want to follow Phil Mickelson around a golf course, he can teach me how to be a great golfer, but it doesn't mean I'm a better golfer. The only time it actually improves is if I go to the driving range and if I go to the putting green and Phil adjusts everything that I do, right? And works with all of my subtleties and the things that need to be improved upon. And that's what has to happen in this season. Because Mike, the mastermind we were on earlier today, we all agreed that for the next foreseeable future, like years, like half a decade, this kind of market where buyers have massive, massive pressure is staying the same. That's my prediction. Is that your prediction too?
It is, yeah, especially after seeing Robbie's data.
Yeah. Yeah. The data is that every decade there's 20 to 25 million new homes that have been built. And in the 2010 to 2019, it was like 25% of that. And so we wonder why we have such a shortage. There's at least 15 million homes that should have been built over the last decade that haven't. And so this is going to stay. Lumber prices are still going up. All these things are going up, and there's an interesting pressure on our ecosystem right now. So my advice to you would be this: watch this again and again. What Mike said was the most valuable stuff I've heard in quite some time. Work on all the little things, because there's not just like one magic pill that you can take and all of a sudden start winning. It is war out there right now, and the war is going to continue. And those that will survive the war are those that are training in the off season, and those that are spending the time doing all that extra work. From the touches you're doing, Mike, with your clients, to the touches you're doing with your agents, to the scripts, to everything else, you're playing at the highest of levels right now. And I'm so proud of you, dude.
Thanks, man. I couldn't have done it without you.
Give us some final thoughts as we look to wrap here.
Are you talking to me? Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the chat box. Again, I really just think that the market we've got is the reality we have to deal with. We talk about a lot on our team about avoiding negativity, staying positive. I believe optimism is something that clients have to feel for you to win as an agent, and really controlling what you can control. The shit that you can't control, stop worrying about. There's a lot of things you can't control. You can control how many appointments you set. You can control top grading your pipeline. You can control the way you coach your clients. You can control the way you coach your team. There are so many things that you do control. You have to focus on those things.
Beautifully said. Gang, I hope this has been good for you. It's been good for me. A few things. We're going to send out an email. Mike, thanks for getting us that screenshot there. That'll be really a value piece for all these folks. So we're going to email that out, as well as a couple other things. I'm going to give you a discount code to our marketplace for Hatch Coaching, so you can save some cash. I want to introduce you to Hatch Messaging. That's so important in Mike's system, and it can be in yours also. And then we have some Hatch training things, because we're doing these trainings all the time, and we have a way in which to develop and enhance your entire ecosystem. Alden is asking Mike if they can get that offer variables page. Is that something that you're willing to share?
That's the one I just emailed you.
Okay, perfect. That's what we needed. So you're going to get that, Alden. Great news here is that we're getting everything we want. With that, Mike, dude, for real, amazing value.
Awesome. Happy to do it for you, man.
Yeah. Gang, thanks for tuning in. This has been a joy. Look at all the love you're getting here, Mike. People blowing you up. Okay.
Feels so good.
We're out of here. We'll talk to y'all soon.
See you, brother.